Bintu Agne, hi. Hi. Good day, good afternoon on this St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day. Sean Spellman, hi. That's my great friend Sean Spellman. Hi on Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm wearing green. I went into my closet to try to get everything green that I could. So to all of you who are Irish, who are feeling a little bit Irish today, I want to begin by wishing you the happiest of St. Patrick's Day, the most blessed of St. Patrick's Day. And one thing I've always loved about the Irish is how welcoming the Irish are, what big hearts the Irish have, and how much they always want to help others. And so on this day, on St. Patrick's Day, I thought it would be a good day to talk about what all of us, what our entire global family can do to help our brothers and sisters in the Asian American community. 150% increase in hate crimes. The opportunity to wear green and to talk about the Irish people. And I'm really proud of my Irish heritage. But as I say at the beginning, what I'm most proud of I'm from a big Irish Catholic family that really loved welcoming people of all faiths, all genders. I grew up in a home that welcomed people from different political persuasions as well. But my parents always had room at the table for, as I said, people who looked different from us, who thought different from us, who were of different faiths, different backgrounds, different experiences, different heritages. And when I think of what it means to be Irish, that's what I think of. I think of opening my table, opening my mind, opening my heart, and being loving and being generous of spirit. That's what it means to me to be Irish. And so I wanted to use this platform that I have today to talk to a woman, Milk, who is a singer, who's a songwriter. All here to push the envelope a little bit to make the world better. That's what I believe we're all here to do in our own ways. And so I wanted to talk to her on this day. I wanted to talk to her about how all of us can help her, how all of us can help people in the Asian American community, the Asian community period, and what we can all do so that they don't live in fear, so that we are responding to their fear, to what's happening in their community. And so that's why I wanted, there she is.
Hello.
Hi, I was just talking about you. Thank you for bringing us on this St. Patrick's Day. And I was talking about what it means to me to be Irish. And I first wanted to check in with you and just to see how you on this day, even though I know you became famous for an anthem about not being quiet. I read your Instagram this morning and you said you actually wanted to be quiet. You wanted to kind of look within and kind of turn inward and feel your grief about what happened last night in Atlanta. So I want to check in with you first. How are you doing right now?
Thank you. And Maria, I've loved your voice and your ideas that you've been sharing with the world for years. So it's really lovely to speak with you. And
thank you.
I loved hearing about how you talk about how you identify with those beautiful communal open table aspects of your heritage, which is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking and checking in with me. You know, before I got on this call, I was thinking about, what I want to say And then I kind of let it all go because there's a sense of needing to grieve and sometimes not knowing exactly what to say, and trusting my intuition in the moment. And I've listened to you speak before, and I thought, you know, I'm just going to show up my whole raw self with the information that's flying around, and just, yeah, have an open-hearted conversation about what it feels like to be part of this global family that you and I are part of, and also to proudly and devotedly advocate for my Asian sisters, my Asian brothers and Asian siblings, all the siblings. And this one was particularly, I think this one just broke something within a lot of like me and my activist friends or advocate friends who are doing the work on the ground. We've been going hard. I partner with this organization called Hate is a Virus, an Asian American collective, and my friend Amanda Gwen. Like we've been just marching, and we've been understanding the stories of increased violence towards Asian Americans for the past year, internalizing it, and this one just somehow felt like the dam kind of broke, and I started to really viscerally cry into the pain, and I felt myself kind of soften into the pain, even though it's hard. So as an advocate, you know, we can want to act and do, you know, okay, these initiatives have the action plans. And I found that today I was doing that because there's a desire to disconnect from the extreme pain.
Amen.
Yeah. And
that's very Irish too, Mel. That's a very Irish thing, you know, to just like go into denial and just start doing. And what I learned growing up in a family that did that is that you're kind of bypassing the grief. You're bypassing the pain, and that it's much healthier in the long term to sit with what you're feeling, to actually not jump into, we've got to do this, we got to do, there will be a moment for that, and there will be time for that. But today and tomorrow, or however long it takes, to sit with the, why is this happening? What is happening? And why is what is happening, how that makes me feel? Right?
yes.
And you said that you've been kind of talking to your community about why this increase in violence and hate. Explain that, could you? Because so many people are like, what's happening?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's so many different factors that are working into this. One of the main things is that we're all in pain. Globally, we're all in pain. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of unknowns. And we've seen historically that we tend to desire to have a scapegoat. And with our previous administration, there was a lot of language that encouraged the opening of the door of looking at Asian Americans as a scapegoat for the virus.
Right.
As a and also maybe a people to be feared because of rising power in China, rising tensions politically between countries. And so there's a lot of conversation, even like media is having like Chinese characters be, you know, maybe the villainous character of sorts. And then on the other side of media portrayal, there is the portrayal of Asians being really well off, right? Like crazy rich Asians, bling empire. In fact, in the Asian American community, we actually have the largest disparity of wealth. So, you know, that gap for us in particular is the widest amongst all our other brothers and sisters. And so what that means to me is that, you know, I grew up, my father is a physician. So I grew up also Chinese American. There's a privilege I have as an East Asian versus a South Asian, like Vietnamese, Filipino people. And I didn't have to fear for my life or get put into complex situations where I'm just thinking about my sisters today from all, like my Asian sisters, but my sisters in general, all over this world, where the gender-based violence conversation is very deeply ingrained into this, right? You thoughtfully mentioned the increase of the violence, 150% over this past year for Asian Americans, and over 60% of that was geared towards women.
Yeah, let's talk about that a second, because and I always like to, because I'm a mother of 2 girls and 2 boys, and people always say, you always talk about women. And I like to talk about our global family. But this crime last night, and I loved what Milk said on her Instagram, is I don't want to hear more about that shooter. I want to hear about the women who lost their lives. And when we talk about this surge in hate crimes, the majority of it has been directed towards women. And, you know, we have crimes against women all the time. And for so many women, no matter what descent you're from, you know, being here, it's a violent place to be, right? You're often, your home can sometimes be a really violent place. I'm doing a piece right now for NBC on domestic violence surge during COVID. But Milk, help us understand why the gender focus in this surge. You mentioned about kind of the relationship between COVID and Asian American hate crime resurgence, but what about women?
I think that the element of right now, what we're looking specifically with what happened last night with the massage parlors, when predominantly women are the ones who are servicing clientele at these places, the protections and the stigmatization of those types of services, these 24-hour massage parlors, tends to dehumanize the women and makes it to the point where we're seeing to the extreme where it feels like it's okay to kill Asian women because they bring out a sense of temptation within a person, like that. Trying to get rid of temptation. They are not temptation, they're human beings. And so I can speak from experience as an Asian woman, my own personal experience, and I can't speak for every Asian woman. However, growing up, I experienced a very intense sexualization and like this exoticization of an Asian woman. And there's perceptions of what we are, who we are in relation to being able to please a man. And I wanted to share about this. This is a very simple story. And I know we're talking about big, complex things, but just to like hone into my micro experience, I used to have really long black hair. And when I was younger, I was constantly dodging very intrusive and uncomfortable encounters from dominant culture citizens who felt like it was okay to walk across those boundaries because I was considered to be more quiet, more submissive, because that's the perception. We're such full human beings as well. And I remember chopping off my hair and putting on a big baggy shirt, and I was able to avoid some of that intrusion. And I just thought, wow, I had to take away something that was natural to me at a point in order to not have to interface with the constant sexualization. And that sexualization is part of what is being at play here with people who are working at the massage parlors. These oftentimes are people who have immigrated here or of a lower income and are trying to find their way, and these places may not be protected.
I think that's so vulnerable, the story you just shared, right? That the reactions of other people who don't know you, who don't know anything, but how those eyes made you feel, how those judgments made you feel, that you went to cut off something that you loved, right? That you identified with, to just escape how that made you feel, right? So maybe all of us for a moment could transport ourselves into Milk's kind of story and think about how we are looking at our Asian brothers and sisters right now, whether they have long hair or not, right? What judgment are our eyes saying to them? What are they feeling from us who look different? And so, Milk, I'm wondering how we've heard a lot this past year about allies, particularly for the African American community, right? And for so many people who are still grappling with where is this hate coming from? Where is this? And let's label it as such. It's hate. You don't go in to kill 8 people unless you have hate, right?
Yes.
And I know that's what it is. So I know the police were saying, well, we haven't decided if this is a hate crime. And there's a lot on the about what the sheriff said. The guy was having a bad day. This is hate. This is misogyny, right? This is
Absolutely.
So let's call it what it is. And we can all do something about that, actually. And so how can we step up as allies? What is there? Are there maybe 2 or 3 things that we can do? One, as you said last night, check in on people you love in the Asian American Pacific Islander community. Anybody you know, just check in on them, because this is a trauma trigger, right?
Yes. I would say, yeah, the checking in on your Asian American friends, and then if some people don't have Asian American friends, maybe looking into that and saying maybe there's a possibility of building relationships with people who live different from me outside of commerce or conflict, right? Right now we're in a place of conflict, and a lot of times a lot of different types of heritage interact through commerce, but outside of those places there's this sweet spot where we can interact just because we can. And that's a beautiful thing. And I think maybe planting that seed, I think what you just said was a very key one of really centering in and not to shame, right? This is I'm not interested in shame or guilt, because I don't think those are sustainable emotions for us to create longstanding change. I'm really interested in inspiration and creativity and love. And I think when we go from that place, looking into ourselves, how am I being prejudiced? And maybe that word, how am I looking at someone and seeing them as maybe less human or different from me, that may cause them to feel like they're in a box, and just to lovingly look at it. And that will change so many things, because I think, I myself am doing that as well, because I am part of this system. I'm part of this culture. I have caused harm myself as well. I look at, my culture, and we have a lot of things to reckon with, the anti-Blackness, and we have work to do. Yeah. And so it's kind of like knowing that we all have work to do. It feels a little more okay, right?
Yeah. I think the point that you're saying is we all have work to do. I think I've never believed in shaming or guilting. And I talk always about kind of out beyond labels, out beyond judgment. It's what we all want, right? Whether you're a beautiful woman, you're a handsome man, you're tall, you're short, you're fat, all of us have preconceived things coming at us. But that's kind of a ground that we can all connect on, right? Absolutely. So I think your points are checking in on your Asian American friends, or your Asian friends, your Pacific Islander friends today. How has this affected you last night? I think, as Milk said, if you don't have friends that identifies that, think about, how might I do a better job? I think that was something that a lot of people were talking about post George Floyd, right? How can I make my table more diverse, right? Do I have notions that have come from media? Do I think everybody applies to the Asian movie, right? Or do I think they're all this way, right? I think we're all influenced by media. That's why media is so powerful, right? So we can all check our biasing, right? And what else is there? Those are really, I think, solid things. So therefore, to kind of move ourselves forward, checking, like, do I think that way? Right?
Yeah. And I think the checking in, I wanted to make a note. I'm so grateful. I have like a flood of messages and calls. And I think some that are very energizing for me are, no need to reply, I'm sending you love. Yeah. You send a funny little GIF or a little, just keeping it in a way, like my partner's going through surgery right now. And we're so grateful for the non-expectation for response, because there's a lot of emotional energy that goes into response, right? So that's just like a little tip for anyone who's reaching out to anyone grieving. Is like, no need to reply, just sending a little sparkle, And there are a few organizations that I really want to highlight. There's one
Right.
organization called Freedom Inc., and it's based out of Wisconsin. Kajuag is this amazing Hmong woman who created a nonprofit to support the Hmong population in Wisconsin, where they grew up in the projects, and they ended up building community with the Black American community there. And so it's a coalition of Asian and Black people. Freedom Inc. has an incredible amount of resources. They're just a great example of people doing the work to build unity and solidarity.
Freedom Inc. Freedom
Freedom
Inc.
Inc. Yes.
Okay,
And
great.
then AAPI Women Lead is also
API Women Lead.
yes,
Okay.
AAPI Women Lead is a great Instagram account. And Hate is a Virus is an organization I'm always collaborating with. Hate is a Virus and Stop AAPI Hate are two.
Okay, so let's pause a second there so people can catch it. And we'll put these up. And
Great.
I'm going to put my conversation with Milk up in the Sunday paper. And we will highlight these organizations. And they're probably Freedom Inc., easy to remember. Stop the Hate, right? The virus hate, easy to remember. Also, you can go to Milk's Instagram because she posts these organizations and posts. A lot of people saying really good that the message of no need to respond. Several people saying I'm writing these down. So I think these are all organizations. You don't have to start an organization. There are people on the ground who just welcome you in to help what they're already doing, right?
Absolutely.
And this is so much about education, right?
Yes.
This is about education.
Yes, I think there's a lot of education, and that's so those organizations, and what I will do is I will post something with the orgs in my stories after I get off the call with you, and I'll
Okay.
there are a lot of history of Asian Americans that has been quite invisible and not spoken of. And I think that is the challenge and the battle that Asian Americans deal with is invisibility.
Yeah.
And so I think acknowledging some of our contributions in history within the United States will be very useful. And so I encourage people to look into, 1882, when Chinese immigrants were here building the railroad and how we got shipped back to China.
Yes.
We weren't able to root and really build here. And our histories, unfortunately, one of our biggest lynchings was of Chinese people. And these are facts that many of us don't know, but I just encourage us to look, and it's not to be ashamed, it's just to help some of the Asian American community feel heard and seen, because I think we all want to feel heard and seen, and
yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm much older than you, but I think that the thing that I keep stressing all the time is we all want the same things. We want to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be understood.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be accepted. We want to be loved. And I always say that I don't ask anybody who walks in this house what their political affiliation is, what their religion is, what their net worth is. Just, do they have a kind heart? And do they want to see me? Do they want to get to know my kids, right? We're all really fundamentally the same. And one of the things I think Milk, you were talking about the difference of all the different cultures within the Asian community too. So there's a lot to learn there. I remember when I was First Lady of California, I went up to a Hmong community, and I have to say I was ashamed. I didn't understand that the whole Hmong community was completely different. And I learned that California had the biggest Hmong community, and then Minnesota, I think, or wherever it was after that. And so I learned in that job about all the different subgroups, really, of these umbrella groups, right?
Yeah.
And and they have their own culture, and they have their own, takeaways and the way they live, and have certainly gotten to know that through my work in the Alzheimer's community, kind of trying to get messages out to the Asian community about, aging and how we care for one another. But I think that really, if you could post these organizations, how we can learn more, if you could share stories that you want people to know, and if we could all make a commitment, right? When we see hate, call it out. You know, one of the things when I was reading about this, people saying that as Asian Americans, people come to them and say, go back to your country.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, come on, people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, there's so many people saying that they, you know, African Americans saying, Black people saying, you know, people ask me what country I'm from, or, you know, the Latino community, people saying what country. Like, let's like open our minds a little bit, right? Let's open our hearts a little bit. You know, I mean, wow. Right? And so
I agree.
You're really asking us to get better educated, open our minds and open our hearts, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I will add one thing to that is, and I do this as well. I remember when I was younger and I felt like, I think it was college years, I would feel really stressed and I felt a little competitive. And when I met people, I wanted to quickly categorize them so that I could just like move on and focus on my own thing. And I think that desire to quickly categorize people is harmful. And I share my story because I want it to be known that I am not free of any of these human behaviors. And I think what could be delightful is to imagine a world where each of us allows ourselves to not rush through life and to take even like a couple more seconds to just look and see, am I able to hold this person's full complexity and full whole beauty before me? And I think that will lead to less violence towards each other, right? I think there's so many great thinkers that talk about dehumanization and how that's so harmful to our relationship. So I just encourage that could be delightful, right? Even going to the grocery store, looking at the person who's checking out your apples, like, how can I hold the complexity of that person who is the cash register right now, and to see that fully. And I think it'll naturally happen then when you all read stories about the Asian American community, and when you see us in different media platforms, you'll be able to see a more whole and complex human.
Amen. That is so beautiful. I love the word delightful. I love that word. I have that place as the open field. I describe what's in I envision that place out beyond. And I think we're all complex. We're all full of light and dark, tough, tender, simple, complex. And if we know that about ourselves and can embrace the whole of ourselves, we have to give that gift to others, regardless of how they look to us. So Milk, I want to thank you for joining us on this tough day. This is a day of grief, and it's a great way for me to spend St. Patrick's Day in conversation about grief and about complexity and about the fullness of who we are and how we can imagine a better way forward. So
thank you. Thanks for using your platform to share with people who love you.
That's why we're here. That's why we're here, right?
Absolutely.
I can't wait to see what's the next. You're going to come back on when you talk about what you wrote about this moment. You've talked about not being quiet. So what is going to be, you don't have to think about it now, but I'm thinking what is it going to be about this moment, and what is the rallying anthem and the anthem that we can all join in on? And that's your area.
I look forward to it.
No need to respond.
I'll take some time.
Okay. And best of luck to your partner. I know you just said in surgery, so
thank you.
Sending prayers your way. That's very Irish too.
I love it. Love it.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, we want to let her go so she can get back to her family. And I want to thank all of you who joined in to hear her and to spend part of your St. Patrick's Day with me and with Milk. And I want to end by, I have this in my home, and I just wanted to read it to you. It's an Irish blessing. May you always be blessed with walls for the wind, a roof for the rain, a warm cup of tea by the fire, laughter to cheer you, those you love near you, and all that your heart might desire. That's an Irish blessing from my home to your home. And don't forget, your home is in your heart. It's not what's over your head, but it's in your heart. Your home is in your heart. And that's an Irish blessing from this home to your home. And may we all also think about our brothers and sisters who are hurting on a day like today, and what we can do to make their tomorrows. Live up to an Irish blessing. Thank you. Don't forget to wear green or don't go outside because you're going to get pinched. Okay, see you. Bye-bye.